Welcome to the Dare to Grow Show. I'm Sarah Morgan, and my mission is to help you take daily action in your business, show up consistently and confidently for your audience, and earn more with digital products and programs. I know you have a rad vision for your life and business, but do you dare to grow? Let's jump into this episode and talk about how to make it happen. Today, we are going to talk about how to stop making all of the projects and the things you want to try or accomplish so big. Because often we overthink things that we haven't even looked into so much that it can hold us back for months or even years from doing something that we actually really want to do. And the reason I wanted to talk about this today is because I've had two separate conversations in the past week about this exact same thing. If we haven't met before, I'm Sarah. I run Dare to Grow, and I teach you how to make marketing and growing your business online way easier. I love efficiency and getting things automated and set up so that you're not making content and trying to sell your stuff all day long when you have customers and clients to work with. So let's say you want to start a podcast or create an online course. Maybe you want a YouTube channel. So if you came to me and told me that you wanted to start a podcast, I would say, make your first episode tomorrow, or at least make a practice episode. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be the thing you publish or go live with, but start tomorrow, because otherwise that thing is going to start building in your head, and it's going to go from this little project, this little new thing that you could try, to this whole giant task list where you have launches and platforms and a huge content plan. And for a lot of people, when they start thinking of all the things, they start to pull back or slow down or put that off for next month or next year. And I want you to really seriously start things today or this weekend or next week, but don't put it off for so long that it just kind of builds and builds and builds into a massive project that you just can't imagine you would possibly be able to do. So number one, in order to stop making things such a big deal before you've even looked into it or researched it or taken the time to think the process through, starting now will help you become better faster. So when I created my podcast, hi podcast listeners, I knew that those first episodes were going to be the worst. They're not going to be the worst episodes ever, but in the grand scheme of wanting to create a podcast or a YouTube channel that lasts for years, those first 20 episodes, quite honestly, maybe I'm just more picky, but I would love to go back and redo all of them from a different perspective, from having more experience. I edited my first 6 episodes, so now I have an editor who goes through and does my podcast. At some point, I'll get someone on my YouTube videos, but when you have an editor, then you go back and you're like, oh shit, I wish I could redo all of those because it's even better now. But you don't get to that part of getting better and knowing how to do things without doing those first garbage episodes. And I know personally, I am a perfectionist. I am a recovering perfectionist, if you want to say that. But there are still times when that holds me back, when I am adjusting things too much or planning them way too much. There's a time to create a huge plan and a huge launch and go crazy on the thing you're going to do and take a lot of time, take months or years to do the thing. But there's also a time to just dive in and give it a shot and see what happens. And especially with a YouTube or a podcast or an online course, something that is going to take a lot of time to create, but also going to last for a really long time, you are going to iterate that no matter what. So some of the podcast episodes that you're getting in the next couple of months are things that I have already created years before, but now I have more experience, I have more knowledge, I've worked with more clients and customers, and so I have more things to say on those topics. So even if you do a podcast episode, you still might redo that episode in a few years or in a few months just because you have more information. So I always tell my members and my clients that you just need to start now, start creating garbage. Make your first draft. You don't have to do anything with it. You can throw it away if it is not good. But if you start creating now, you will get more comfortable and you will get a lot of those picky little perfectionist things that maybe aren't going to be that helpful in the long run. You'll get them out of the way because you're going to do some rough drafts and some garbage videos that you're just never going to show to anybody. So try it now. Get started now. Dig into it now so that when you launch in 6 months, you have more time under your belt. You've spent more time creating episodes or building whatever the thing is instead of waiting for 6 months to start. The other thing that I find extremely helpful is to write it down. I know I'm always saying journal, 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 but it really helps to take things out of your brain. I think I have read somewhere or heard that you can only keep 7 things in your brain. So if you have 7 things you need to pick up at the store, if you've got 8 or 9 or 10 things, you're probably going to forget something if you don't write it down. And the same goes for when you are thinking about doing a big project like creating a YouTube channel where it seems like there are a million tasks, a million things that you need to do. You need the strategy, you need to know the content, you need the platform, you need the video equipment. I literally have, what do we got today? I've got my camera, my iPhone. It's on a tripod with a ring light, and I actually have a mic in front of me because I'm testing out some different audio options for the podcast. But I've already done a whole bunch of YouTube videos, and I think this is podcast episode number 115. I'm over 100, and now I'm testing something new. So you will try new things no matter what as you keep going forward. Taking the time to research to figure out what tech you need, what platforms you need, little tips that are going to help you create or record or show up, whatever you need to create that thing, start researching today. Open up a Google Doc, make yourself some notes, figure out exactly what needs to be part of that project. Because, like I said, you only have space for 7 things in your brain. It's probably already full from your business, from your clients, from life and personal stuff. So if you are thinking about doing a large project like a YouTube channel, like a podcast, you cannot figure that entire thing out in your brain, especially if you haven't looked into it yet. I'm calling you out, but I'm calling myself out too because I do the exact same thing. That is our lizard brain. That's our unconscious thoughts. Spending time going through what might be possible, what we might need to include, what you might need to buy, what you might need to figure out. And you're trying to hold this entire, I keep having like a visual of like a laundry basket. You're trying to carry everything in this laundry basket and it's not sorted. You don't know what goes where. You don't know what order things go in. So you're just looking at this pile of tasks. And of course you're holding back because it seems like number one, it'll take forever. It's going to be time, energy, money, stress. You're going to have to do a bunch of new things, which is always uncomfortable for adults. We hate starting things and trying new things. When I was teaching circus and aerial silks, I was amazed by the number of people who would come into my beginner class, first day, never touch the silks, and they would apologize nonstop for not being able to do the thing. Like, this is your very first time. Just be bad. Just be terrible at it and have fun. That's all you have to do. But they come in and they're apologizing because they can't go upside down or they can't climb. And it's like, I didn't expect that on the first day from anyone. Even the CrossFit people and the gymnasts that come in, they still have their garbage first day. But what we usually see is people announcing or launching the thing when they've already figured it out. They've already done all the work behind the scenes. We're not seeing that stuff played out, and we're not seeing the order that they did anything in. So when I launched my podcast, it was like a week before, and I was like, surprise, podcast, it's coming. Nobody saw all of the months of work before that, or me trying to figure things out or testing things. And the same with YouTube. It took me a month, maybe 2 months. It actually took me 6 months because I thought about it. I'm confessing. I thought about it for like 6 months. I didn't tell anybody that I wanted to do it. And then when I started telling people, they were like, well, yeah, duh, of course, do the YouTube channel. But I too thought about it forever. And now that I'm doing it, I'm like, fuck, this is so much easier for me than doing the podcast episodes alone, which seems like it wouldn't be. But once I looked into it and figured things out, it turns out for me doing video is easier. So you won't be able to really get an idea of what is going to be part of the process, what is going to be most important, what you can do now versus, you can do it in 6 months after the whole project is finished. You can't do the entire plan in your brain. So I need you to go get a notebook after you watch this video and write it out. Write out the plan, do some Googling, figure out what you need for your project and write it down because it's going to feel a lot less intimidating and overwhelming once you have that figured out. And you don't need to know everything, but if you can get something on paper, you might start to feel like that thing or that project is more possible for you and something that would be worthwhile to put your time into because you are understanding what you're going to get out of it or how possible it would be for that thing to actually work for you. So you're going to brainstorm, write down everything you think is going to be included. And then I also want you to do research. So what platforms, what tech, what apps do you need? What do you need to learn? Do you need to take a course on something? You could take a 2-week course and learn how to be a better speaker on camera. And then you can do your YouTube channel. So what things are holding you back as you're writing the list, as you're making the plan? Take note when your gut or your brain goes like, ugh, that's going to be hard. Ugh, I don't want to do that. Ugh. You can feel that procrastination or that like negative feeling. Pay attention to that because that will help to guide you in the best way to do whatever it is that you want to do. I always say, you do you. You don't have to do the YouTube channel the way I'm doing it. You don't have to do the podcast the way I'm doing it. You don't have to show up on social media or do webinars if you don't want to do that stuff. So really pay attention as you're brainstorming and figuring out how this project, this thing might work. What does it feel like on your inside? Because if it's feeling bad, it's going to be really hard for you to accomplish that task. But if you're feeling excited and good and you're into researching, then that's a pretty good indication that it's something that is worthwhile to at least follow and investigate. And then once you have that plan, it is a lot easier to look at things more realistically and say, do I really need to buy that or do that or include that? So when I first started doing YouTube videos years ago, during the time that I only made 3 videos and then gave up on YouTube, I was using softbox lights and I was setting up a DSLR and like using the manual focus, which was a pain in the ass to set up. And then I was like trying to have like super cute outfits. So I looked the way other online entrepreneurs look. But if you come to my house or if you see me on a coaching call with my membership, this is what I'm wearing. This is how I dress during the day. I'm actually like really hot because we're having like fall in San Diego, but now it's like 70 degrees out and I'm sweating. Also, I'm wearing shorts. So we're pretending to have fall over here. But I would have not shown up in this outfit in those first YouTube videos because I just was like trying to do a thing. And now the thing I'm trying to do is publish content consistently. That's it. And that means I've got my notes, I've got a mic, I've got my camera, and I have tripods and stuff, but I didn't have those at first. I would set my phone up on a stack of books. You have the tall books and then you put the little book to hold your phone up, right? Like I had no tripods, nothing like that. I didn't have fancy mics. I was using an old DSLR, which was way more work than it needed to be. I had a very nice phone. I could have used that, but I just made everything so complicated and difficult for me. I was like curling my hair every time. I had long hair back then and it was a whole thing. And that is part of the reason that I didn't move forward because I didn't want to do the whole setup. I was talking to a couple of the members inside of Dare to Grow the other day, and one of them was saying, I need to do these illustrations. I know I'm going to put it off until the very end because I'm just making it so complicated. Like she had to wait until she made dinner and then she like cleaned the house and got to walk the dog and do all of these extra things before she can sit down and do the work. And so I told her, sit down with no preparation and do the thing. Do it once. And if it's terrible, then you got your shitty first draft out of the way, but it can also just get you going. So sometimes if there's something I'm putting off or I'm like, I know I have to do this and I don't feel like it, I just do it for 2 minutes or I just do 1 page. I'm thinking of like a Canva design, not like writing a whole page. I would write like a paragraph and I tell myself that I can be done after I do that, or I'm going to work for 10 minutes or 20 minutes. And what happens is after you get through that initial like 2 minutes, you're fine. You're into the project. And so we hold ourselves back so often just by overthinking things. I have anxiety. I have so much anxiety that I'm on medication for it. So I understand the overthinking and how much it can hold you back from just taking the next step. It's the worst. But the more that you're aware of it and the more that you fight through it by just doing a garbage first draft exactly how you are, the easier it's going to be. Because I don't think that if I was starting my YouTube channel today, I would be able to just sit down and do it like this. I wouldn't. I would still be doing the makeup and the hair and the outfit. And like, I did vacuum my couch for you, even though you can only see one section of it. But I would be doing a million more things. That's going to take me hours to get to the point where I can sit down for 20 minutes and talk. And so doing all of that video and trying the YouTube channel and doing a bunch of different types of content, showing up on Instagram, doing all of those things made it so this time it feels a lot easier. It feels easier than my podcast. It feels easier than doing blog posts. I literally make a bulleted list and then I do it. But I only learned that that is okay, which is silly everything you want to do is okay. Don't murder anyone, obviously, but like anything is fine. The way that you want to do it is fine. So anytime you're holding yourself back, stop and look at what other things you are adding into the process and evaluate whether or not those are necessary. Whether it's things that other people have told you, whether it's things that you've learned from me, whether it's things that you've just made up because that's the way you've always done things, or that's the way your parents taught you to do things, and we hold on to those forever because, sometimes they're unconscious and we've just always done them. Maybe you don't need to do all of the things to get started. So I'm going to finish with one little bonus tip, which is the worst and the best way to get yourself on track, and that is to tell someone else that you're going to do it. For me, I tell people behind the scenes. Usually I tell the people in the membership what I'm going to do, and then I wait, and if they're like, yeah, then I go for it and do it. But what you want to do is tell people about the thing that's coming, or your launch date, or your deadline for when you're going to finish the episodes or finish the course or hit publish or send it off to your editor, whatever the thing is. Figure out a deadline. And once you go through and make a realistic plan and kind of figure out what is part of that, you'll be able to set that deadline and then use that to get yourself started or to keep yourself accountable. Because most of us have a much easier time disappointing ourselves than we do disappointing other people. And the more that you become aware of that, the easier it's going to be to use that to your advantage. So if I feel like I'm going to be behind on something, I tell my audience, I tell my members, I tell my podcast editor or my VA, like, I'm going to have this done by Friday so that you can start it on Monday, or whatever the schedule is. So telling someone besides just yourself that you want to launch a YouTube or start a podcast or do an online course. Those are my examples today. But anything, you want to start a business, you want to create services, you want to go hike a ginormous mountain. Tell someone, figure out the logistics, get it out of your brain. Your brain cannot hold the whole YouTube plan. It cannot hold your hiking packing list. I'm assuming you're bringing more than a water bottle up a mountain. I'm imagining, I don't do these things. I'm not going up a mountain with like gear, but I imagine that would be more than 7 things, and that writing it all down, figuring out your route up the mountain, figuring out, any issues you might have and kind of troubleshooting those before you start going toward that is going to help you move forward and move faster. So let me know if this was helpful and what project you are going to tackle next. If it's going to be a YouTube channel, a podcast, something like that, I've got info inside of the membership for you. And if you want more support, if you want some help going through either the process of launching things, creating things, or you want support in busting through those mindset issues, we talk about that stuff all the time in the membership. And everybody is so kind and thoughtful and such good listeners. And we're all kind of working through the same things together. So if you want some more support, come join us in the membership. You can find it at daretogrowco.co/membership. All right, I hope this was helpful. Have a lovely week, and I will talk to you again soon. Oh, and one more thing before I go. If you have any questions on anything we talked about today, or if you are looking for help to market and grow your business, head over to daretogrowco. That's daretogrowco, and join us in Dare to Grow. It's my membership for solopreneurs looking to simplify their marketing, show up with confidence, and finally grow their online business. You will get instant access to all of the trainings, the twice monthly coaching calls, our monthly planning and goal setting call, and our super supportive Facebook community filled with solopreneurs just like you. Seriously, it's so good. If that sounds like something you need, link is in the show notes, or visit daretogrowco, and I will see you inside.